pick the answer on your phone. All right, you guys are awesome. Look at that, you remembered. So where you want to get started is with Chartwells and Ufs Dining. And so in a typical semester, you want to go to them first, kind of for first right of refusal for any sort of catering that you're doing on campus. With COVID, I think we've had to learn a lot of new rules. And, you know, one of the things right now is you do have to make sure that all of your food is from a licensed food provider, which Chartwells would be our UFS licensed food provider, or individually prepackaged items. So like you can't just go and buy like a tray of cookies and have people grab cookies from it or even pass them out. They would have to be individually packaged cookies. And so you have to kind of remember some of those rules right now for COVID. Now, normally that would be fine, but since this last fall, that's been the rule, and we have to continue through the spring as of right now. We'll kind of go over that policy a little bit more. So at any point, if y'all have questions, just let me know. Okay. Our winners as of right now. All right, next question, true or false? Funds collected by the RSO should be deposited into their account within 48 hours. True or false? All right, the answer is false. Does anyone know what it is? Or why it's false?
Is it 72?
24 hours.
It's 24 hours. Yeah. So I heard different numbers. Yeah, it's 24 hours. So technically our policy is that your funds should be deposited into your account within 24 hours. And the biggest reason for that is we don't want you to lose it. I can't tell you how many organizations have lost like money that they've fundraised, and it's because they haven't decided to put it in their account right away. So that's what we ask. As far as if you have an RSO S-Fund account. I know, so Greek organizations that are on here, you have a little bit different funding structure in that you aren't allowed to get funds from SGA. So you do have the off-campus checking account option. So you all may have some different policies within your own internal organization that you want to make sure that you know. But all organizations, including those Greek organizations, still do have an S-Fund account. And that's simply for you to put money into, like if you're going to need to like make copies and things like that. So for those of you who are representing Greek organizations, you might just double check your account. It's kind of funny, every year I feel like there's a president or two that's like, I didn't know I had any money in there, but I have $2,000, you know, or something. So just double check that, and we can talk about how to do that as well. All right, let's see where we're at. All right, so Landon, you are up number 1 right now. All right, the RSO deposit form can be found on Numalink, SEO page and documents, Blackboard, at the cashier, or My UFS. All right. So the right answer, kind of the number 1 answer, is going to be on Numalink. It's going to be on the SEO page on Numalink under documents. That's the best place to find that. You can also find it on My UFS. So you can find it in either place, but most of the time I direct people to Numalink just because it seems to be the one that people would go to more for that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's where it's at. So whenever you go to deposit funds at the cashier's office upstairs, and if you're gonna do that for a student organization, you would have to have a copy of this deposit form to do so. And so you'll have to have that. So I am going to. All right, sorry, I was trying to do something different. All right, next question. All right, true or false? RSOs can have their own graduation cords and stills with approval. True or false? True. You guys got that one. So this is something that wasn't always the case. Several years ago, our institution would only allow academic related cords and stoles. But student government worked with our records, our registrar's office and chancellor to be able to allow student organizations to have actual stoles and cords, that were registered within the registrar's office. And that was essentially to show that, there's achievements in academics, but there's also achievements, by being a leader in a student organization. And so that was something that was brought about. So your organization may have its own stole or cord. All of those should be registered in our registrar's office. If it's not, then we can get that official for you. But if you have questions about that, you can contact Wayne Womack, the registrar, or you can contact me. I'm happy to double check for you or get you the information for that. So, all right, let's see our winners. All right, Linda moved back up, Diana G, and then Emily Blitz is our third place winner right now. All right, RSOs can show a movie if it's off campus, you have a license, you have the permission of the production company, or it's a Netflix party. Okay, so a little bit of a trick question. So different steps. So movies are a fun thing. And I feel like I get questions about movies a lot. And so I threw this one in there. So in order to show a film publicly, you have to have a license to show that film. We're a public campus, but if you look at the copyright law, it does basically state that even if you're showing a film in a private residence, if it's anything beyond a small gathering of friends and family, it is technically a public showing. So you wouldn't be able to like advertise that or anything of that nature. So if you're going to show a film, with your student organization, you have to have a license to do that, unless you can get permission from the production company. So a lot of times you can do that by contacting them directly. Now, not on like a blockbuster movie, most likely you're not going to get that, but that a lot of times if there's groups that want to show like a documentary or something, they can contact that production company separately in order to get permission to show that. So you do typically have to have permission or a license to show those films, and those licenses can be kind of expensive. We do work with Swank Motion Pictures, mostly with our campus, to show films if we're going to do that, but we have worked with a couple different other companies as well. And so if that's something that you're wanting to do, we're happy to direct you to the right person or even reach out for you to kind of get a quote and see what that would look like. That being said, Netflix parties came out about a year ago, I'm going to say, roughly. And with Netflix parties, you can do that with your organization. The caveat to that is that everyone who participates has to have a Netflix account, because whenever you have your Netflix account, you are agreeing to the terms of use saying that it's for private use only. So that means you can't just invite everyone over, to like watch it, because it becomes a public showing at that point. But if you're doing a Netflix party, for example, and want to watch, a TV show or a movie or something, as long as everyone who's participating has, their Netflix account, then that's fine for you to do that as like a program or an event. I imagine if you had like one person sitting and watching with you, it's probably not a big deal, or something, but the idea is the spirit of not making it a big like public showing. And I believe there's some other, I think Disney Plus does that now, and so does maybe Hulu, but I think sometimes those cost more money, but I think you can do those as well.
Amazon does as well.
Oh, Amazon does? Okay. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing. All right, our top three right now are holding strong from last time. All right, so purchase requests for reimbursement should be turned in within the following: 60 days, 90 days, 30 days, the current semester. All right, so most of you got that right. So our policy is that we need those receipts turned in within 30 days. We want to make sure you get reimbursed in a timely manner, if at all possible. We don't want you to be hanging on to those things, but also when you hang on to them, you're hanging on to this proof that you've spent money and it's not being taken out of your account annually because we don't know about it. So that means that your account is not even balanced correctly and you don't know how much money you truly have if you're hanging on to those. So really, we want you to get those reimbursements in as soon as you possibly can once you've bought things. But we do ask that you get those turned in within 30 days. All right, Dylan made the board. All right, true or false? Reserve fund requests may be turned into SJ in the fall or spring semester for additional funding. All right, so that is true. So you all will turn in your budget request for the next year by the first Friday in April. And it's always the first Friday in April you'll turn in your budget request for the next year. So just know that that information will be coming out soon. And then if you, let's say you missed the boat on that, or maybe you miscalculated or something came up and you need more money, or maybe you're a new organization and you don't have any money, you have the opportunity to apply for funds through SGA through the reserve fund. You can ask for funds. You can have one successful ask for funds in the fall and one in the spring. Last year's dollar amounts were a little bit different. The SGA actually upped the dollar amounts that you could potentially get this semester or this year because they felt like with COVID, some people may have not turned their budget request in last April and that kind of thing. So they wanted to kind of be a little bit more flexible with that. So you can turn in a request for up to $1,000 a semester for a new organization and under a year of age. And then if your organization is more than a year old, you can ask for up to $2,000 a semester. You turn that in, and then you turn it in on New Link as a budget request, and then it goes through SJ's approval process. I see Logan on here, so I know he knows all about that because he's our treasurer of SJ and our chair of that committee. But they will review it and get back to you and ask any questions. And they'll either deny it or approve it. If they deny it, it's usually because they have they need more information. So they're going to probably ask you for more information and tell you to resubmit it. They'd rather have you resubmit it and give you the opportunity to get the full amount of funding than to approve you for a lower amount because they didn't have the information, because you only get one approval in a semester. So just know that's kind of how that works. Okay. True or false? You are ordering t-shirts from a local vendor for $450. It's best to pay upfront and get reimbursed. True or false? All right, so kind of half and half almost. So false. So the only reason it's false is one reason. Does anyone know what it is?
So for any purchase, I believe that's over $100, you want to get that money up front. That way you're not out that much money and you don't have to wait.
So you're kind of right. It is the dollar amount. That's what makes it false. So we ask that if it's going to be over $250, that you would do a purchase request instead of a reimbursement request, because we don't want you to be out all that money and have to wait to get reimbursed for it, which we try to do reimbursement pretty quickly, but at the same time, like sometimes, those larger amounts do hold us up because we only have so much money at a given time that we can reimburse before they refill our pot, if that makes sense. And so sometimes we have to wait to reimburse someone who might have a larger amount because we don't have it to give. So we want to make sure that you're not having to wait. You're a college student. We don't want you to have to wait for that. So we would prefer for you to try to do a purchase order for anything over $250. However, if the vendor doesn't accept a purchase order, which sometimes is the case, or it's just faster to do that, if you will just shoot me an email and say, hey, I really want to do this, how can we do it? We will give approval for you to go ahead sometimes and do a quick reimbursement of more than $250. But we want to make sure we have it to give you before we say, yeah, go for it. So we'll work with you on those sorts of things if that's the case. All right, let's see. All right, Diana, you slid into number 1 up there. All right, after submitting a reimbursement request, the original receipt must also be delivered to the Student Life office. All right, so technically it's false. I know I'm switching things around on y'all. So our policy has always been that you have to bring your original receipt into our office. But as of last spring, we worked with the business office and asked if there was any way around that, just because we were going to not be working in the office. So how would you be able to turn a receipt into us? And so because of everything with COVID, we've been able to keep that policy to where as long as you turn a good receipt in on the digital receipt in on the form, we don't necessarily have to have you bring us another receipt. Now, occasionally we may get a receipt that's hard to read, or it's not itemized, or it may need more information. And sometimes we've had to reach out and get an additional receipt from someone. But as of right now, we do not have to have the original receipt, which kind of is nice because it kind of cuts one thing out for you guys have to do in order to get reimbursed. So as long as you can get that form in online, that's all that you really have to do. If there's any questions, we'll ask them of you. Okay, let's see. All right, true or false? All marketing with UFS or the logo must be approved by UFS Marketing and Communications. All right, so that is true. Student organizations are technically separate from the university legally, and just all student organizations at universities. There's a lot of weird things with student organizations, but you do have to follow by different policies and such. But you technically are not UAFS Chocolate Club. That's my club for today, is Chocolate Club. But if someone wants to start that, that'd be kind of cool. UFS Chocolate Club doesn't exist, but you are the chocolate club at UAFS. So you can't be the official UAFS Chocolate Club because you're not a function of the university. But you are the chocolate club at UAFS because you exist on the UFS campus. So technically, that's kind of how you should always word what the name of your organization. So you're never UFS in front of your name. It's always after, if you decide to use that as part of your name. But our marketing department does allow for you to use the UFS logo. Some universities don't allow organizations to do that. But if you're going to use the university's name or logo, they do want to have a quick approval of that. It's super easy. Jessica Martin is the person to contact. And I usually get an approval back from her within the same day on everything, because I also have to get all my stuff approved from her. So she's pretty fast at getting that done and everything. So, and it's really just to make sure like a logo's not been skewed the wrong way, or you're using like the wrong version of it, that kind of thing, because we want to make sure that we're all using the same brand. All right, we had some leaderboard changes. All right, how far in advance should you reserve a table in the Campus Center breezeway for use? 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, the week you need it. I should have put fun pictures or gifts or something on there so it entertained us a little bit. All right, so 2 weeks. You guys got that for the most part. So we do ask that you reserve those 2 weeks in advance. If you do it in under that amount of time, we will try to work with you on that if it's available. If you aren't aware, we've had to change our tabling policy, at least, for last semester and this semester. Hopefully we'll be able to change it back. But we are limited to 2 tables in our breezeway area right now instead of 4. Just because of social distancing, we do have to do that. We have to do some other limitations, like you only have 2 people, at your table working it, and some other things. So just kind of keep that in mind, that there's a limitation for that. That being said, I would encourage you. I know a lot of groups really rely on tabling. for marketing and recruitment and things of that nature. And I think you have to also remember that there's not as many people on campus right now. So you might have to get creative with how you go about and do your marketing and recruitment. And I think it'll help if you are able to stick around and kind of go to some of these other sessions to kind of go through some of ideas on how to do that. All right, next question. Which of the following should you not do while tabling? Block traffic in the hallway, play loud or explicit music, just show up, no need for a registration, or use more than one table.
All of the above. I reserved enough tables. I know that one.
You're right, Elliot. So kind of a trick question, but everyone gets a point. Yay. So I put all that on there because we do have to kind of repeatedly tell groups sometimes to kind of what the rules are. So just please make sure you're keeping track of that. You know, obviously these are rules prior to COVID, but continue to be rules, obviously. But blocking traffic in the hallway, that, you know, unfortunately we picked the smallest area in the whole campus center to make a tabling space. Why we do this, I don't really know, to be completely honest. So we want to make sure that there's still a walkway for people to walk through, especially even now, you know, with COVID, making sure there's social distancing and all that. Playing loud or explicit music. So we have that on there for a few reasons. You know, we are a public campus and you're college students, so you can listen to what you want to listen to. But you have to remember that sound travels. And it travels directly upstairs into all those offices through that dome. So they just love listening to some music that you all decide to listen to sometimes. And with that, the other thing too is that we have to remember that our building that we're in, where the tables are, that we do this, you know, it's where people come to take their campus tours. It's their starting location. And so the last thing we want is for students and their parents to walk through on a campus tour and hear certain things such as that. So we're just trying to want to make sure that we're keeping those things in mind, you know, as we're tabling, because the whole goal behind tabling is to create, you know, a positive atmosphere and a positive outlook of your organization. So we want to make sure that we're keeping that. Once you have an event and it's in a closed room or somewhere else, you know, you can play what you want to play, but we just ask that you kind of be respectful of that, you know, in that tabling space, since it's a public space. Just show up, no need for registration. So I do throw that out there. I know we just covered it, but I do throw that out there because you would be surprised how many groups will just go out there and start tabling and we're like, where did you come from? So just keep that in mind. And then use more than one table. So we do the space in that area, it's not meant to be an event space. It's meant to be a space to essentially recruit, you know, for an event, recruit for your organization, that kind of thing. But some people will use it as more of an event space. I think that's okay if you're doing something really small, but that doesn't mean that you need to be adding more tables and all this other stuff over there in that area. So just make sure that you're using one table and you're not taking up other tables as you're doing that. So, which right now it's hard to do anyway with only two there, but it could happen. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, a little bit of a change there. All right, who do you contact to reserve space on campus? Myself, Stephanie London, Brent Tedford, Ashley Goodson, or no one, just show up to it.
I know this one all too well.
All right, so it's Ashley Goodson. So in order to reserve space, you're going to contact Ashley. She's in the scheduling office, which is right next to our student activities office. So kind of the box office area. That's where she's located at, and she's kind of your number one spot to go to start with that, with those reservations. Once you get that situated with her, then you would need to fill out your event information on Numalink. She and I are working really hard. We're just struggling with these two companies to get them to work together, but we're working really hard with both the folks that host Numalink and the folks that host her event management site, so that you all can just register your event on Numalink and just reserve your space on the event form and not have to be able to like go to her first. Like you can just do it all in one spot. So you can you can literally click a button and see all the open spaces. So we're trying to get there, but you know, it's not happening yet. It's just my dream. So working towards that to where you don't have to have all the stops. But right now she is the person that you would contact to reserve any space on campus. And I had to just show up on there because that happens. Like I've literally gotten phone calls like on Saturday from UPD that's like, hey, there's a group trying to get into the old gym. Do you know anything about that? So we're like, no. If I'm in a good mood that day, I'm like, just let them in. If not, I'm like, well, they need to reserve it. All right, so how far in advance should you reserve your space or turn in your setup? 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, and the week of the event. All right, so technically it's 3 weeks. This is like the one thing that's 3 weeks versus everything else that's pretty much 2 weeks. And this is a requirement from the scheduling office. And the reason for that is, I know we're not having a lot of events right now in person, but we have a crew on campus that has to set up our tables and chairs for us. And in most cases, like sound equipment and things of that nature. And they have to make their schedules out in advance in order to be able to get everything on there to make things happen for us. So they do require that we reserve space and turn setups in 3 weeks in advance. Now, if you just need like a classroom, you're not going to need like a setup for it. You just need to have like a classroom for a meeting or something. I'm sure Ashley's happy to work with you to be able to get that for you. But technically the policy is 3 weeks in advance to get that into Ashley. And then you would have 2 weeks in advance to get the event on Numalink. All right, true or false? If hosting an event on campus, you must include your EMS number, confirmation number on your event registration. And EMS is Event Management System. All right, that's true. So you guys got that. We do ask for that. I mean, obviously, if you're going to be off campus, you wouldn't have a number, but if you have a space booked on campus, we'll be double checking those. You'll get that from Ashley when you create your event registration. Of course, if we can get this whole form thing working, then you wouldn't have to worry about that ever again. So, and I get some fun numbers for EMS confirmation number. My favorite was when people put 911. Because
Nice.
Because they think, yeah, it stands for emergency medical services. I try to put a note on there of what it really is, but anyway, there's fun answers sometimes to some questions. All right, there's an RSO workspace available for RSOs in the student life office. True or false? All right, true. So
What? I had no idea of this.
yes. So let me give you a quick spot. So our entire kind of back area, we consider to be like our student organization workroom area. We have right now we only have 2 computers because we had to move 2 of them out for social distancing, but we typically have 4 that you can come in and use. They all have like Photoshop on them, all that kind of stuff. You can print. We have butcher paper, paints, all kinds of things that you can come in and use that are at your disposal. So we always want you to know about those things as resources to you as a student organization. Of course, right now we are open right now. We're open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So you're welcome to come in during those hours and utilize that space. And you learned something, Elliot. You've known all the other stuff. So
Yeah, learning something.
there you go. All right, what events should be registered on Numalink? Those hosted on campus, those hosted off campus, virtual events, or meetings of more than 10 people.
This feels like another all of the above.
That's another trick question.
I like trick questions. So yeah, it's all of them. So it's a little bit misleading, I guess, just because we haven't talked about the new directive stuff yet, which I sent the email to you guys, but it's clear as mud, right? So we'll go over some of that. But you've actually always supposed to have turned in any event, that whether it's on or off campus, but we haven't required you to turn in meetings. We've encouraged it just so that it ends up showing on Numalink so people know about it, but we haven't required it. You do need to make sure that you're turning in events that are hosted on campus, events that are hosted off campus. Virtual events should also go on to Numalink. It's still an event. You still have to register all your events. And then the new directive from Arkansas Department of Health it was effective January 2nd, says that any gathering of more than 10 people has to be approved by the state of Arkansas. We'll kind of go into more details about what that means in a minute. But because of that, any meeting that you have of more than 10 people needs to be put in on Numalink for approval. There may be a few exceptions that got some pre-approval that Shannon and I went and got approval on, but just know that that's kind of what needs to happen. That being said, I know we can't really travel right now, but travel would need to go on to Numalink as an event. If you're asking for donations or sponsorships for an event, that needs to go on there as an event. If you're doing fundraising, shirt sales, things like that, all that needs to be considered an event that you would turn on Numalink. So I hit on that because I always have groups that like, we have fundraiser, we have money from t-shirt sales, and I'm like, okay, well, when did you sell t-shirts? And they're like, oh, last week. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. So just making sure that, you know, we're turning in all the things that we should turn in for that. If there's questions, of course, let me know, but that's kind of the overall idea there. All right, true or false? Before asking for donations or sponsorships, you must get permission from student activities. I somewhat already answered this for you. All right, true. So you are right, true. I kind of already answered that for you, but yes, so you would turn it in on Numalink as an event, and that's how it would go through that approval process. They also have to be approved by our UFS Foundation if it's donations or sponsorships. So we have an approval process for that. If you're interested in learning more about that, my breakout session later tonight is specifically about fundraising and how that process works. So I'd love to see you there if you have questions about that. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay. We have, I think, 2 more questions. Okay, where do you have easy access to your S Fund and copy code? Student Activities Office, your advisor, documents on your Numalink page, or there's no easy way? All right, you guys got that, so that's good. So the best way, now technically you can ask us and we're going to give it to you. Your advisor also may have it, but it is for sure on your Numalink page under documents, and that's the easiest way for you to find your S Fund and your copy code. Your S Fund is your account number for your organization. You only probably need it when you're making a deposit in the cashier's office. I can't imagine you need it any other time unless you're doing travel, things like that. But right now, that probably is the only reason you would need it. And your copy code would be how you make copies in our office. Like if you're to make copies in our office, and we can make black and white or color copies, it charges your account at 4 cents per copy. So just be aware of that. But it's very minimal. So you can do so much with 4 cents per copy. So keep that in mind. All right, let's see where we're at. All right, same leaders. Okay. And 20, which form would you use to set up online payments for dues or events for your organization? RSO ticketing through the box office, bookstore Ignite CX, RSO store creation form, or event form on Numalink? All right, so let's talk about these forms real quick. So, because only 7 of you got it right. So we have a few things that I want, just a few resources to let you know about. So if you are wanting to set up an online storefront for your organization to collect membership dues or an event registration fee where people can pay with a debit or credit card, there is a form called the RSO store creation form. You can turn that in. We will work with the business office for you to get that storefront set up. Right now, they won't let us use it for things like t-shirt sales and stuff, unfortunately. So right now, membership dues and event registrations are the 2 things they'll let us use it for. The nice thing about it is that people can pay with a debit or credit card. You have a link you can send out to people to do so. You all get an email with a copy of the receipt saying they paid. They get a copy of the email with the receipt saying they paid, and then all of your money, because it's through our campus, goes directly into your S Fund account. And so that's kind of the nice thing about that. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying an online storefront. Just really quick, so you know, the other things are, there's the RSO ticketing through the box office. I imagine you may not need that right now, but if you need to ticket an event, and they can do like e-tickets right now as well, we can fill that form out and work with our box office in order to create a ticketing system for an event that you're having. In doing so, they would set up an account for you within their office, and they would be able to deposit any funds from those ticket sales back into your S-Fund account as well. The Bookstore Ignite CX, it's technically not a form, but I threw it in here. But so if you go to Numalink on your main Explorer page, once you log in, if you ever go down to the very bottom on the far right-hand side, there's a list of campus links, and one of those is Bookstore Ignite CX. So this is a third-party website that's through our UAF's bookstore. And you can use it to create your own storefront to sell t-shirts or other promotional items to your organization or outside members or so forth, or you can use it for donations and do like a thermometer and things like that. So it's actually through our bookstore, but the nice thing about like the t-shirts and stuff is that you design it and work with that company. And once your campaign ends, like your due date hits, the company then sends those t-shirts directly to anyone who bought them. And you don't have to get them and distribute them to people. The negative thing about the site, in my opinion, is that, you know, there is a fee that you do have to pay, which is a percentage of your sales. It's a little bit higher than some of the other places that do things like this. In my opinion, I think it's like 7.8 or 7.9%. So you would just want to make sure that if you're going to do sales that you up the price, which allows you to do in order to cover the costs, and also make it a fundraiser for you if you want to do that. So that's kind of how the site works. I don't know everything about the site because it's actually a bookstore website, but I'm happy to help navigate it with you or get you to the right person if it's something that you're interested in learning more about. And so the event form on Numalink, we've already kind of covered, but you would not need to necessarily register this as an event. The event, I guess it's kind of tricky because I said register for event registration. So yeah, if you're having an event, you need to register on Numalink. But if you want to set up that online payment process, you could do so with that RSO creation form. All right, let's see our outcome. All right, in third place is Emily Blitz. Logan's in second place. All right, Nathaniel G. So I just need to know, our runners up, Landon K, and the other one went away. I think it was Diana. I just need to know which organizations you guys want me to give those to. So Nathaniel, are you on? Can you let me know what organization or?
Yes, it's
Go ahead.
Minority Association of Pre-Med Students.
Okay. Logan?
Sigma Nu.
Okay. And Emily? Emily, are you on? All right, Emily, put it in the chat. And I'll get it. I'm pretty sure I know which one you want it to go to, but to be on the safe side, put it in the chat for me. All right, so that's kind of the overall what I wanted to kind of go over with you all. I do have a few more things just to kind of touch on real quick. I'll say really quick that if any of that was just really kind of like unclear to you, that stuff is all covered in our fall RSO update presentation and everything. And you can email me for the link to that. I would say maybe go back and watch that if it's something that you really kind of felt like you needed more from that. But you can also access any of our videos from trainings if you go to Numalink. On that main Explore page under campus links, there's an RSO video resource library, and all of our videos from our trainings are located on that link. So you can always go there and be able to access those. So I want to kind of hit on a few things. So our Spring Star of Excellence. So I kind of hit on this before, but if we, for Star of Excellence, If you complete 70% of our training in the fall semester, you receive an excellence award for your organization. Same thing for the spring semester. With that, we also do Leadership Academy. So if you complete 70% of our Leadership Academy track throughout the entire year, then you receive an individual leadership award. So the Star of Excellence is a group thing and Leadership Academy is an individual thing. So these are the sessions that we have coming up for our Star of Excellence Leadership Academy. So the only ones that are not Leadership Academy are the RSO budgeting and the RSO roundtables. The other 5 are going to be the Leadership Academy tracks. And I sent out an email that had all the dates and times for that, and I'll continue to do that and give you more information on that. So just kind of be aware those are coming up. If you cannot attend in person, as far as like the virtual in-person part of it, then we do offer a video quiz option that you can make up. And for those of you who were doing it last semester, I apologize, we got behind. We had the person that did that for us, unfortunately, was in a bad car accident and was not able to work for several weeks. And so we kind of got behind on that. So that's our fault, but we are kind of playing catch up with all of that. So if you still need to make up the last 2 from last semester, they're available through the end of this week. And then we'll announce who all of our fall winners are for that. So just keep that in mind. All right, homecoming. I know there's lots of questions about homecoming and what that may look like. So we're going to change it up this year a whole lot. Our theme is going to be kind of the Vegas casino theme. And I'm trying to get everything finalized this week so I can get things out to you guys by next week at the latest. But kind of tentatively what it looks like for us right now, the only thing as an organization, if you're going to compete in homecoming, so if you're not familiar, then homecoming, we have lots of competitions that you can compete in. And ultimately, you can win different competitions in order to get to the end where you might win some cash prizes for your organization as well as trophies and so forth, which are always fun. So the only thing that organizations will need to register in advance for is going to be king and queen. So if you want to submit a king or queen candidate, I'll ask you to do that by February 8th. And I don't have the format. I was hoping to have it out by today, but it just didn't happen. So, but I should have it out by the end of this week, regardless, but I will email you and let you know when that's available. Everything else is stuff that you can literally do that day. So it makes it a little bit easier on everyone. So our king and queens will have to be turned in on February 8th. Those candidates will go through virtual interviews and then voting by the student body. The voting will take place during homecoming week. Homecoming week is going to be week of February 22nd. So Monday through Wednesday of that week, we'll do voting online via Numalink for people. On Monday, we're having an event called Posterpalooza. The idea with that is it's a competition. And so instead of doing banners, we're asking organizations to create a digital poster. And we'll have some criteria for that. We'll have you turn those in advance. Like the week before, and we'll put those out on social media. We have to figure out the last minute details on this, but there'll be a component that students will vote on, and then a component that is judged by our judges. So that's kind of one thing we're doing. Our alumni office is hoping to host a chancellor chat that Monday evening. Tuesday is lip sync battle. It is virtual, so we will send you out the rules for that as well. But we're asking for people to essentially create lip sync battle videos. We're kind of coming up with some suggestions on how to do that. And so those will be judged, and then we'll put them out all day on Tuesday on social media. Trivia is not a competition. We've done trivia competition in the past, but the trivia, this trivia on Tuesday is from our alumni association, and any student can participate, but it's not part of our overall organization competitions. Wednesday, we're doing Decorate Your Digs. The concept there is that you would decorate like your door to like your residence hall room or your apartment or your home or whatever, or like your windows or front of your home or whatever you want to do, but decorate that. And then you would put it on social media, tag us and tag your organization. Your organization can submit as many pictures as they want to, which means there's more chances to win. But we would do voting for that being judged. So the more chances, more you turn in, the more chances you have to win. Wheel of Fortune. I'm trying to get it all pulled together real quickly. But the idea behind Wheel of Fortune is that we would do trivia kind of like we did just now with Kahoot, we would do that with UFS trivia, and our first, second, and third place winners for the organization. So you can have as many people play as you want. So if you have 20 people for your organization play, you have more chances than the person that has 10. So if you get first, second, or third place, then that would be the first, second, and third place points for your organization, as far as winners for the organization. But then those 3 people would move on to individually play a Wheel of Fortune game where they could win real Lions cash and other prizes. So that's kind of what we're working towards there. Friday, we're looking at doing a coffee with the coaches, kind of a fun little talk show type thing. And we're hoping to announce the winners of all of our competitions up to that point during that event. And then our alumni office is going to be doing a UFS top 10 for alumni. We're looking at doing a tailgating cooking demo on Saturday. We will have the 2 games in person at 3:30 and 5:30. And between games, we will do the crowning ceremony. And so there's some different caveats with that, but that's kind of the plan. We also are planning to do, we usually do a sweatshirt swap for homecoming. Instead, we're planning to do something all week where we'll have the hours posted in a list of needs items. But if you would donate some needs items like shampoo, conditioner, soaps, things like that to our food pantry in order to make it more needs-based and have more things for our students, if you make that donation, then you could get a free homecoming sweatshirt. So just dropping them off during certain times to get your free sweatshirt. So those are all the details that we're working through. Obviously we've had to make a lot of changes and kind of and everything. So we appreciate, we normally have everything ready for homecoming, but at this point, so it's definitely been a lot of fun trying to like change things up, but also kind of fun to reinvent the wheel a little bit. So just kind of keep that in mind. But any questions about homecoming?
Stephanie, there's a question in the chat to clarify the date. It says, so homecoming is the week of the 22nd now instead of the 15th. That is posted on Numalink, ?
Yes, that's correct. So the event, and that's our fault, the event that's on Numalink, we put that out there this summer as kind of a placeholder. We need to update it. The reason it had to change, which we've never had to do that before, but the reason it had to change is because of athletics. If you aren't familiar, we weren't able to have any of our fall sports. So right now you have every sport except cross country. They may be doing stuff currently, but by the time homecoming hits, we have every sport but cross country will be in season. So right now they're trying to figure out, they have volleyball games and basketball games going at the same time in Field Center with schedules as well as baseball and then other things that are happening. So when they worked with the conference to reschedule all the games, there were no home games the week of February 15th where we originally planned homecoming to be. So we did have to move it back. We preferred to move it towards the end than making it closer, just to give everyone more time to get everything together. So that's our fault. I don't think we've updated it because we didn't have the new graphics and stuff, but we do need to update that. So it is the week of February 27th, the week of February 22nd. It goes the 22nd to the 27th, with the homecoming games being on the 27th. So, all right, I know it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and just hit a couple other things real quick. I have so many things going on that I can't see the chat. So Shannon, if you know of any more questions, holler about those. We are planning NUMA as our end of the year award ceremony for April 30th. I don't know what it looks like yet as far as the way it will be as far as all that goes. We will do our normal awards that we normally do, which you can see here, and we'll have more information coming about those soon so you can apply for these awards. We are going to also do 2 new awards. One is going to be commitment to diversity. So if there's a commitment to diversity through programming or the other efforts that your organization has made. And then also we want to do one for outstanding virtual program. I know that we've definitely had to kind of flip the script on a lot of things, and you all have had to do that too. So we want to make sure that we're kind of rewarding those who've had to kind of figure some of those things out. So keep that in mind. And the last thing I wanted to bring up, which I know it's 6 o'clock right now, but I'll go ahead and just hit on it real quick, is just spring events. So there is, I'm going to stop screen sharing real quick. There is a new policy, which you all may have seen. I didn't get it until like the actual written one for a little while. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up. So I haven't been able to share that with you yet, but I sent out kind of the overview of what it was going to be from a meeting that I attended with our senior staff. But here's the policy. So it looks like the policy from last fall. The only difference is the Arkansas Department of Health. If you are not familiar, they did an updated directive for indoor events. So if there's any events that are held indoor in an indoor venue of more than 10 people, it has to be approved by the state of Arkansas. Because we as an institution had approval from the Arkansas Department of Higher Education last semester to approve events internally of more than 100 people, which was last semester's directive, as long as it didn't include outside folks. We kind of have that being grandfathered in to be able to do that for the 10. So if you can get your events in on Numa League, then basically myself and Ashley Goodson are reviewing all those to see what has to go to the state and what doesn't. We can pretty much approve anything that's internal as far as like it only involves UAFS students and employees. Where it gets tricky is if you have guests. A lot of you, not a lot of you, but some of you have what we call community supporters. We see this mostly with our Greek organizations, our religious organizations and sports clubs. So if you have folks that are not UAFS employees that serve in an advisor capacity to you, we do now need to register all of those folks with our HR department in order to make sure that they are an associate member for the campus so that they're counted as part of those internal folks. And that way there's not a reason to have to go off and get that additional approval from the state. Also, if you have something that's going to be reoccurring like every week or it's happening twice this semester or things of that nature, we can do a blanket approval. Same thing with meetings. I know, I think Shannon, one of the things that we brought forth was chapter meetings for Greek organizations. We kind of had some things already lined up that we were like, let's go ahead and get approval for these things. So I think those things are good to go. But that's kind of how that will work. So unfortunately, the really great part to me is the guest thing. Ashley, essentially Goodson in the scheduling office kind of gets to make the call of, is this something that we can approve on our own, or is it something that has to go to the state? And it seems like the state so far is taking about a week to hear back from them. So just kind of keep that in mind, but we're happy to help work with you on any of those things. But because of that, now if you have a meeting of more than 10 people, they want us to register those and make sure that we're following the guidelines with that. So I know that it's 6:05, so I didn't really get to talk a ton about that. But what questions do you all have about this policy? And hopefully myself or Shannon can help answer some of those questions, if anything.
I do.
Oh, sorry, Elliot.
I do have a question. So with the community guests, it at some point, is there going to be like a thing where you'll require student IDs or something for all on-campus events with more than 10 people, or?
Well, you all are already required to track every event. So if you're not, you need to be.
Oh no, like are we
so-
required to submit student IDs and stuff?
No, you're not necessarily required to submit student IDs, but the policy does currently say, and it's just from COVID from last semester, but the policy does currently say that you do need to be keeping a log of who attends your events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, and so the easiest way to do that, honestly, is just to swipe IDs with Numa Link with your event, and it will automatically track those for you. But they haven't honestly said like you have to show an ID, but you pretty much need to ask that at this point, because it does have to be students or employees, or someone who's affiliated with the university to count towards that. So you really do need to be making sure you have your guest list of who can attend. If it's outside folks, to make sure that no one extra is coming in. As far as if you, like, for example, if you're going to have like an event that's approved and you have a certain number of people that you asked or whatever, but for the most part, I think the state will give kind of like that blanket approval of like, if it's guests are allowed, then they'll say that's fine, but there may be like a cap on how many you can have depending on the space and that kind of stuff. Okay. So I know that's not super clear, but sorry about that. You need to you do need to track who is coming to your events and meetings and turn those logs into Ashley Goodson. That's what the policy currently says. It doesn't necessarily say you have to check IDs, but to be honest, with the policy saying that it has to be UFS students or employees, I would encourage you to go ahead and do that.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Sorry, that was clear as mud. So I figured it out eventually. All right. Any other questions? All right. We will have at the end of tonight, when we have the roundtables, one of the sessions is just a general Q&A. So if there's things that pop up about like this policy or other things like that, and you can stick around, we're happy to answer those for you. Also, I can stay on this link if you all have questions about any of that while you're waiting for the next sessions to start. But I appreciate you all coming. If you did come in late, be sure that you put your name and your organization's name in the chat, because that's how we're taking attendance. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Shannon to kind of talk about the next thing that's happening.
Okay, everyone, so I'm going to go ahead and just drop the document of the program in the group chat just one more time for our friends that joined a little bit later. So sorry for those of you that joined on time or early. You probably have about 4 of these in your group chat, but just so we can make it easier for everybody. A quick highlight, you will be able to move to the next session. There are 3 separate breakout sessions with 5-minute periods between each one. That way, if you need to go to the restroom or take a break for water, or to just have time, make sure you get into the next Zoom link, you can do so. If you do look at the program, which let me go ahead and share my screen with you all real quick so you know that you're looking at the correct thing. You will find that there are links to each session. So feel free to scroll down to the breakout sessions tab, and then it will list what is in each breakout session as well as the Zoom meeting ID and passcodes. But the easiest way to probably do that is just click directly on the link. It's hyperlinked, so it should then send you straight to that Zoom meeting. The first breakout session will include a session on leadership and academic success brought to you by the Center. And the next one is the social media and marketing session brought to you by Rachel Putman, who is our Associate Director for Strategic Communication. And then there's a conduct and accountability session where you'll get some conduct training by Dr. Dave Stevens. This is one that if you are a conduct or standards officer in your fraternity and sorority, please attend this so you get proper conduct training. Breakout session 2 starting at 6:50 will include some virtual event planning tips from Brent Tedford, who is our administrative specialist in the Student Activities Office. RSO finance facts and tips. So those who are either treasurers or part of your finance and want to learn some more about how to do some of the things that Stephanie covered in the RSO update, Peyton King, our Student Life Office student assistant, will be holding that. And then there will be a recruitment and marketing session brought to you by a UFS alumni, Austin Lloyd. Breakout session 3, starting at 7:25, will include a session also brought to you by Austin on connecting through computers. So if some of you are having a hard time finding ways to connect to your members in a virtual setting, this will be a great session for you to attend. And then there's also a session on incorporating service in organizations that Katie Cochran, our coordinator for student activities, will be speaking about. And then Stephanie is also offering another session in the last one about fundraising. She touched on some of it during her RSO update, but for those of you who are finance officers or treasurers or do fundraising for your philanthropies, this would also be a great session to join. You have any questions or having difficulty, feel free to stick around. Like Stephanie said, we're going to stay in here. If you have some problems, we can try to help troubleshoot that for you. Reminder, if you want to do the roundtable topic discussions with us, you will use this same meeting link again back at 8 o'clock. That is definitely just optional, and we are doing that for just people who are interested in maybe connecting more on those topics. We did have a question about whether these will be recorded. Some of them will be, maybe not all, but that is something that we did suggest to our speakers that if they're willing to record, they may do so. So if they're going to record, we did tell them to let you know. That way you can be prepared in case you don't want your video on. You can feel free to turn those off. If there aren't any other questions, this will be where we go ahead and let you go off to your breakout sessions. If some of you will not be able to attend breakout sessions, thank you for joining us tonight. And Stephanie and I will stick around if you have any other questions or need help getting to sessions. Have a good night.
What's up?
Austin.
Hey guys. Hey Stephanie.
Hey, long time no see.
I know. Happy New Year.
Just a tip, Austin, you might want to change your name since it says student government.
I think that it represents who I need to be. No. Yeah, I had to go. First time
Stephanie,
logged.
You may do it.
Rachel's asking if I can join her room real quick. So are you good to maybe just stick around real?
Yeah, that's fine.
I gave you, I think I can leave and it still stays it up since you're host. I'm also going to stop recording. I remembered right at the last minute.
I know, I almost messaged